Hey everybody, Gabe Suarez here. Today I'm going to talk about co-witnessing and red dot, or I should say optics, sight pictures on pistols. We're not really doing red dots anymore. But in any case, I taught a class recently the last couple of weeks. A huge class, had 25 people, and it's the first class we've taught I think since 2019. Yeah, 2020 we didn't do anything, and 21 we really didn't do anything, and because of the way the world was going. But like I said, we're bringing it back this year. This is our second class so far. Very, very successful. A lot of really good guys. A lot of Suarez International regulars. But I was talking to one of my colleagues who let's just say we walked some of the same streets back in Southern California, and he's running red dot training for law enforcement, and he was telling me that a lot of agencies, their idea of co-witness and what they require their officers to do is in fact to use the red dot in conjunction with the iron sights. So in other words, they require that red dot to be found and the regular iron sight picture to be found before they fire the shots, which is insane. Then there was another individual online that was talking about why you should not, in essence, slave your dot to your sights. Okay, I think there's just a lot of misunderstandings about what it is that we're really doing here. Okay, so I asked my student body, okay, because one of the things that I train my guys to do is to speak and write with a degree of eloquence. I think it's just as important as being able to shoot and fight. And I asked them, I said, okay, guys, let's come up with a good definition. What does co-witnessing mean to you in regards to the handgun? And I got to say, the best answer was from one of the members at Warrior Talk, LVMD. Rick, good job, by the way. He said, to wit, if you align the iron sights, then the dot must be sitting on the front sight. Okay, that means that the dot and the iron sights are zeroed for the exact same distance. All right, if you have your red dot 0 to 10 yards and you have your iron sight 0 to 10 yards and you're looking through the sights, they're both going to be pointing in the same place. Okay, the only way that wouldn't happen is if you have the irons sighted at a certain distance, or zeroed rather, and you have the dot zeroed at a different distance, which is stupid. Why would you do that? That makes absolutely no sense. All right, continuing. All right, but being parallax free, you do not need to co-witness in order to use the dot. Dot on target anywhere in the glass, irons nowhere in sight, and you will still make the hit. Okay, that's perfect. Okay, now we do a drill in our optics pistol class where we take the pistol, okay, and I have the students point in, all right, and then I have them move their head off of position, all right. So what they end up with is the dot in the upper right-hand corner, okay, the dot in the upper left-hand corner, the dot in the lower left-hand corner, the dot in the lower right-hand corner. But I have them keep the dot centered on the exact same spot on the target, okay? And what is the result? The result is they fire a nice tight group regardless of where the dot appears in the optic itself, okay? Now, are they looking for the iron sights? Absolutely not. They're ignoring the sights. Now, I mean, to us, we've been doing this for over, 12 years now. And it's like all of a sudden, you've been teaching combat handgun forever, and somebody starts asking if, I don't know, revolvers versus semi-automatics. You're like, what are you, didn't we address that like 20 years ago? Okay. But the problem is that there's a lot of people that are just coming new to this study, and they just don't understand. And so we don't want to be, we don't want to look down on them. We want to educate them. And so that's the spirit that we're doing here. We're trying to educate our viewers and our students so that they don't misunderstand, especially when they come across maybe misunderstood information. Okay, so think of it in these terms. All right, you can have this finger out here, you can have this finger here, and you can have your target downrange. Now, you can visually focus on any point here that you want. All right, it's the same exact thing that you used to do when you were using just iron sights. Okay, you can't focus on the front sight and the rear sight at the same time. It's impossible. You can't focus on the target and the sights at the same time. That's also impossible because they're on 3 different focal planes. And so what we used to teach, back in the Jurassic period, was to focus visually on the front sight, specifically the very top edge, because if you kept the front sight in relative alignment with the rear and with the target, you would have a very, very good sound degree of accuracy downrange. Okay, now with the advent of these, we don't have to do that. Okay, because as LV noted in his statement, they are parallax free. That means that wherever that dot appears on the target, you're going to hit that very spot. Okay, now you don't need to use the rear sight or the front sight in order to do that. You can use just the optic. Okay, now there's another drill that we do in class where I have the students visually focus on the target, and they fire groups ranging, from, 3, 5, 7, 15, even 25 yards. I think we took it to 50 yards with this group because this was an exemplary group. And so we have them focus on the target and just notice whatever else you're going to notice. All right, because the dot and the target are on the same focal plane. They have fantastic accuracy. It feels very natural to focus on the target. Then I have them shut off the dot and I have them use the sights. I have them turn the dot back on and I have them use the dot and just kind of notice what's going on there. And finally, we have them visually focus on the dot itself as if it was a front sight. Okay, so the sighting systems don't change, but how your eyes utilize them, they can, and there are advantages to each. By and large, the students believe, and I agree with them, that visually focusing on the target and noticing where that dot is, and sort of, aligning that dot on the target, but not focusing on the dot, seems to be the most natural and the fastest. And we encourage that for the majority of the shooting. However, what they noted, and what I agree with as well, is that if you need a high degree of accuracy, surgical accuracy, what we used to call hostage rescue accuracy, where you're talking about shooting eyeballs instead of shooting faces, visually focusing on the dot as if it was a front sight allowed them a greater degree of accuracy than they had otherwise, and especially for targets that are very distant. And we shot out to 100 yards. Okay, people think, oh my God, 100 yards with a pistol. Well, we didn't. It wasn't a big deal. Everybody hit. Okay, from varying positions, standing all the way down to prone. It's not a big deal with these particular weapons that we're using today. Okay, so cowitness means that the iron sights are zeroed at the same exact point in distance that the dot, I was going to say red dot, but that the dot is zeroed for. Same exact distance. All right, we'll talk about the zero distance that I prefer perhaps in another video. It does not mean that you use your eyes to pick up the sights in conjunction with the dot as you're going to fire. That is a misnomer and it's a mistake. The sights do appear to be on the same spot as the dot because of the mechanical cowitness. The visual use of these, you ignore the irons unless you need them, and you use the dot as necessary, either focusing on the target or focusing on the dot. Now, why are these sights important? Okay, number one, you have a beginning shooter that's been using iron sights all their lives. They've never used the dot before. Well, I don't want them up here trying to figure out where the dot is. I tell them, find the irons, you find the dot. And invariably, within about maybe 20 draw strokes, they have it, and then we don't have to address it anymore. It's no big deal. The second one, you have a visual immediate action drill. This is like an eyeball tap rack, okay? Your pistol, you press it, it doesn't fire. What do? Automatically, you do a tap rack, okay? You don't even have to think about it. So we do a visual tap rack. That means that if at any time you lose your dot, you don't stand around going, who took my dot? No, automatically you go for the iron sights and you will find that dot again. And if the dot isn't there, it doesn't matter. You'll use the iron sights. Okay, so number one is a training tool for beginners. Number two is an immediate action in the event that you lose sight of the dot. And it happens, guys. You know, you could be standing here on the range all day, firing groups from your perfect shooting stance and everything else. You'll never lose that dot. The stuff that we do, running and gunning, sprinting off the X, shooting from very strange positions, roll over prone, all these kind of different things. Your eye and your pistol are not going to be in the same situation as if you were standing on the range, just shooting groups. Okay, so if you lose the dot, go for the irons and you will regain the dot. The final thing is, in the event that you need to remove the optic, okay, much less so now with the advent of the Holosuns, but some of the other optics that needed to be removed in order to have the battery exchanged or for repair or whatever. On a properly cut slide, you could take that dot off and put it back on or put a different one on, and as long as that dot was put into the co-witness situation, coincidence to the front sight, you would hit the same exact target. In point of fact, that's exactly what I did with this pistol. This pistol is the one I shot in class. The week before I got a Holosun, I removed the Trijicon RMR that I had on there. I put this guy on there, tightened it down, Loctited it the whole 9 yards. The first time I fired it was the group that I fired in class, okay? And it was a nice tight group. I didn't have to change the zero at all, all right? So, that's the third advantage of having sights that are co-witnessed, okay? That's it, guys. It really is very simple, and I'm kind of sorry that people are trying to overcomplicate it. There's guys on the internet that they want to talk like they're college professors, and they take 100 words to say what could be said in 10. So anyway, at the risk of falling into that gap, I'm hitting on 12 minutes here. Thank you very much. Come and train with me. We're doing amazing things with handguns, and let's be a part of it.